Hi, everybody. Welcome to Live Sessions. I am really excited to have a new person here on at LMS. I lost my brain there for a second, guys. And somebody that we haven't had on the show before. So I'm really, really super excited. I want to introduce Booster Fawn. And why don't you tell us like a little bit about yourself and kind of how you got into music?
Sure. Well, hi, Kara. First thing you need to know is I'm in Montreal currently. So I'm a Montreal-based artist.
Yeah.
I got into music at a pretty young age, like a lot of people, I guess. But I kind of started late. I started writing my own songs at 19 years old.
Okay.
And this particular project, I had two bands in college. This particular project. Um, started in 2016 when I was picking cherries in BC, which is a popular summer job for Quebecers to have.
Oh, really? Okay. I did
Yeah,
not know that.
yeah, yeah. So it's almost a pilgrimage for us to
Wow.
go out west and pick cherries. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Is that it? I mean, that has to be kind of grueling, I would think, like all day in the summer. Like that feels crazy.
Yeah, it's I mean it's the good thing about picking cherries is that once it gets too hot, you have to stop
Oh,
because
okay.
cherries would fall from the stem, you know.
Okay.
So work days usually end around noon, from like 5 to noon,
Oh,
and then
wow.
yeah,
Okay.
and then you have the rest of the day at the beach and with your guitar and your friends and stuff. So
Yeah. Wow. Man, that's a good job, 5 a.m. You get to end early and do
yeah,
whatever you want after. Like that sounds great to me.
sure, sure, yeah, and we paid no rent because we all lived on the orchard in tents and stuff.
Wow.
So
Okay.
kind of a magical. I mean, the project itself is rooted in magic a lot, like the idea
Yeah.
of magic and stuff. So
Yeah.
um, eh, yeah, that's where the whole project comes from, basically.
Awesome. That's so cool. And so it sounds like, well, I mean, being able to camp all summer sounds like fun too.
Yeah. Super fun, super fun.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you learn something new every day. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Um, so where did you get the name that you came up with for yourself?
Yeah, I was just telling this story the other day. I before like coming up with a stage name and stuff. As I said, I had other bands. But now I kind of knew that I wanted like a name,
Yeah.
a different name, like a moniker, I guess. And I was crossing. We were crossing the country. Um, and in Alberta, which is a province in
Yeah.
Canada, in the middle of Canada, there is a very popular country. It's like country music is very popular, and there was this music festival, and one of the headliners was named. His name was Boomer Wiggly, and then I thought that's clever. That's a cool name.
Yeah.
And I guess like a few weeks later, I was like, okay. I was in the cherry tree. It was the crack of dawn, and just the name came to me, Booster Fawn. And the idea was like, so fawn, as you know, is a baby deer,
Yeah.
and booster. The idea is like booster is like the one who boosts. Like the one who gives a boost um, to the fawn, and so the fawn representing nature.
Mhm.
Um, And because I was in nature, picking cherries, working, camping all summer, and I knew that I was going back to the city. So I
Yeah.
figured when I'm going to go back to the city, I'm going to be the one who gives a boost to the spirit of nature um, on stage in Montreal, right? So like that's kind of the
That's,
genesis of the name there.
yeah, that's so cool. That's an interesting thing that it just kind of came to you. Most people have to sit on it for a while, you know?
Sure. Yeah. No. No. I mean, there were other like sort of candidates and stuff before that, but that was like it would say like lightning in a bottle or something. It was just like right away. I knew
Yeah.
that that's what it was. Yeah. And
Yeah.
for a long time, I was a little confused. Like I didn't know, like, is this like the band name or is it my name? Even like in most recent years and stuff, I would say like that's the name of the band. But that year that the project started, people called me Booster. You know, like that was my nickname.
Yeah.
So people don't call me that anymore. Maybe they're gonna start one day, but now they people just call me Josh.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we
Sorry
have
for that long ramble
no,
there.
it's totally fine. I've had a couple of people on that have like a stage name and they don't use their real name. So it's definitely something that is more prominent lately, I would say, in the music scene here in America and especially here in Seattle. Um, and so yeah, I think it's definitely something that like is good because then you when you want to kind of switch off from that persona you can come back to yourself and there isn't this like it's all the same thing, you know, like working from home, like having your space be your work and then coming home isn't really a thing because you're already there, you know. So
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it's kind of a good thing in some way. I think I would probably do it if that was me too, like get have a different name because then you can be that can be like your job name and you know then you can have yourself otherwise, but I guess as musicians you don't really separate most of the time, but you know uh I feel like it's kind of cool because that way your fans kind of know you as one thing and then family and stuff can call you something else, so I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, um, you know, I guess like I could be using my real name,
Hmm.
but I'm not I'm not at the point where I'm like in love. Like I'm not like absolutely in love with my real name now,
Hmm.
like full name. But I like it more and more.
Yeah.
Um, so there's a little reservation there, but like in all of the bios and stuff, it's very clear. Like Booster Fawn, like also known as Joshua Max again. Like my real name is always there. You know, it's
Yeah.
kind of like but it's hiding behind
Yeah.
this like cooler shaman name, like basically that I
Yeah.
gave myself. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely I kind of do the same thing. Like my music name is different than like well, it's my name, but like most people don't call me that name. So
Mm,
that's kind of what people know me for that is my on my music note and my music page and then or the stage name that I've chosen. But yeah, I mean it's definitely something I think you're right, you kind of have to like your name and you have to like know that that's what people are going to call you, you know? So
yeah.
definitely agree. Like it's definitely taken me a while to like mine too. Like I hated mine for a while because people can call me Cara or Tara or Laura or I mean they've come up Karen, like it's
Mara.
you know all over the place.
Yeah.
Um so yeah, so I definitely you know have had to build that. I went by KJ for the longest time for most of my
Okay.
you know so like it's definitely something I've had to learn to love too, but um you know I think once you get to that point you know it's definitely something that you can use, but I mean I think it's kind of it's kind of cooler that you have like a cool like pseudo name in that place, you know, like it's just it's such a cool runs off the tongue too, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, people tend to like it, I guess. So it's
Yeah. Well, and it's easy to remember, you know? Like it's definitely something that's unique and so it's easy to remember for that too, you know. So, I say stick with it, you know?
thank you, thank you,
It was
thank
your
you.
first instinct. Go with that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
um so being in Montreal, can you give us kind of a like an idea of what it's like to play in that area because most people I'm sure haven't been there, so I haven't. I've been to Alberta,
Oh,
um
cool, cool.
Edmonton, Alberta, Canada.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
then I've been to British Columbia, and that's
Okay.
because we're right there. We're like 3 hours away or something.
3 hours
Yeah,
south of Vancouver, I guess, eh?
yeah, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Now I live like 20 minutes from the border, so that's
Oh,
fun.
oh, almost an honorary Canadian, basically.
Almost. I mean, yeah. I They don't like me much trying to get in, so I'm working.
Oh,
I'm like, hey, let me in, and I will. I'll be cool. I promise.
yeah.
Um, um, but uh, but yeah, I like. I want to kind of go there and kind of explore and understand like the culture up there too, because I only went as a kid, so like it's completely different when you're an
Yeah.
adult. But I was just thinking, like, for people who haven't been there, can you give us kind of an idea of what it's like there, and maybe the music scene there?
Sure. Yeah. So if you've never been to Montreal, I guess the first thing you need to know is that it's freezing cold. 7 months a year. It's very, very cold. This year we were actually lucky. It was the warmest winter uh, ever recorded since they started recording in like the 1800s. So
Wow.
we had like a few. Um, I guess you guys use Fahrenheit, but we only had like 1 or 2 days below 20 degrees Celsius, whereas usually it's kind of like the norm. Um, but what they say about Montreal is that uh, the long winters are the price we pay for the incredible summer season, right? Like it's very, very nice in the summer. There are
Yeah.
music festivals every weekend. There's an international jazz fest. There's a French music fest. There's Pop Montreal, which is more like at the end of the summer. There's Osheaga, of course. There's a country festival now, hip hop festival, metal. All styles have their giant
Wow.
weekend event.
Yeah.
And so this place, I think I moved here in 2008, and I think that I actually think that because like some bands from here, Arcade Fire and Wolf Parade, they kind of put Montreal on the map. I think Montreal might have been the music capital of the world, of the Western world for a few years, like in the early 2000s. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's still musicians. Like basically, the city is the cheapest metropolis to live in all of Canada. So
Wow.
you have people coming from everywhere to live for the cheap rent.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and someone said that it's also it's pretty much one of the only places where you can sort of just have like a part-time job and bum around a little bit as a musician.
Yeah.
It's one of the last places in North America, one of the last cities, right, where
Yeah.
you don't need to work like two jobs to just get by.
Yeah.
Uh, and so what it's like to play music here, it's just really good, and it's a huge university. It's a small island, but there's 4 universities. So the student population is always growing, always changing, and there's a ton of new bands all the time. Like I've been living here for almost 15 years on and off, and I always hear about new bands. There's always new bands, new bands, new bands. So it's an amazing place for um I guess it's like a creative sort of learning ground, like a lot of
Right.
people learn to be um musicians here, professional musicians and so
So
forth.
it's kind of the music city. Like we have Nashville and Seattle, which are music cities.
Yeah.
Um, it's kind of like that.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of like that. Yeah, for sure. Um, and then there's a whole, so it's kind of, yeah, I guess it's kind of like that. But because I'm here, like Nashville, I guess I feel like it's a little different. It's like the style here is way more like I don't know, like indie, especially in the English
Okay.
scene, because people are here for 3 years and then they leave, right? Like not a lot of people settle down here, sort of thing.
Oh, okay. Why is
Unless
that?
they were born in Montreal, unless like you're from Montreal or the suburbs, like me, for example.
Yeah.
Um, but why is that? I don't know. I don't know, because it's too cold. No one wants to live here
Hey,
forever. It's
yeah,
so
yeah.
cold. Yeah.
I live in a place that's pretty cold, and we had the warmest year too. I mean, we didn't get snow until like January, and usually
Sure.
we get it in like October. So it was different for us too, you know, and it ended early too. I mean, it's March and it's like 65 degrees when normally we'd have, snow all the way until April ish.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, if you're close to the border, you yeah, you do have that sort of cold yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's well, I'm in the middle of nowhere. It's like in the mountains in the middle of nowhere. Um,
Oh,
so yeah.
sounds nice.
Yeah, I mean it's beautiful, you know.
Yeah.
Working is hard, so you definitely have to like either be retired or be able to work from home because it's I mean everywhere you go it's like an hour long, you know.
Sure.
But it's definitely beautiful out here. And worth it. The summer alone is worth it, you know.
Yeah.
So I totally understand. But as far as the music scene, like um with having so many bands coming up, does it give you like any sort of competition, or do you guys just kind of work together as musicians to kind of get on bills and bring the music to the people, or how does that work with up there?
Yeah, that's very interesting. Well, there's definitely I would say like a lack, not a lack. Yeah, like but it's a positive thing. There's not enough music venues. Everything is booked almost until the end of the year at this moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's kind of like, but what's good is that there's always I'm 34 now, so I'm not so aware of the spots, but there's the way Montreal is made is there's always going to be sort of like secret venues where someone I had one when I was younger. I just like rented a basement and then okay, like this is a new like venue or whatever.
yeah,
Kind of like illegal but kind of accept like a gray zone, right? Like a gray
yeah,
zone.
yeah,
And a lot of yeah, there's so many of those here, and there's a lot of bands too, um, and generally people are kind of um, pretty yeah, I guess like it. So the emphasis is especially in the anglophone scene, the emphasis is definitely for sure on like the flavor of the month, or like the flavor, like it's always a new band, and then they finish their undergrad and they go home. But there are some people that stay, right? There are some people that
yeah,
stay, but very few. But those that stay, like they open venues, or they like start a festival, or it's actually pretty like people aren't so much like the younger people aren't so much like helping like the older people getting like bills and stuff, but it's all like building towards um it's just building a community, and there's like many layers to the community, I think. Yeah, there's not like any um beef, like there's no beef and whatnot, but maybe it is a little competitive, but I think that's a good thing, probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No kidding. Has there ever been a time where you kind of uh thought maybe you weren't going to be a musician growing up? Was there ever a time you were like, I don't think I'm going to do this, and wanted to do something else?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Especially when so I tomorrow actually tomorrow I'm gonna be 3 years sober from alcohol and marijuana.
Yeah,
Um, I hope it's okay that I say this. And
yeah, you're fine. Yeah,
so for the longest time, like I needed in the last few years before I stopped, I knew that I wanted to stop, but I kept thinking I need it. Like I need this to be connected to write songs and stuff, right?
right.
But then when I stopped, I remember thinking you know what, like I don't care if I ever do this again. I just want the feeling to stop. And
Mhm.
then 3 months later, I was back to writing. So there was a time where I was like I don't really care what happens. And even now, like no, like there's nothing. I guess like there's nothing that I would rather um do, you know. But as I get older, uh, there's this feeling like I feel like the chances are that I make a living from doing this are less and less, like as I get older. But I don't know if that's all in my head or like I guess I don't really care too much, you know.
Yeah, right.
Um, yeah, because the truth is that like it's I guess I guess I probably am like the way that perception works is like I probably am living that dream that I had when I was 16,
Yeah,
but I don't know it, like, because I'm living it, right?
right. Yeah. That's amazing. And congratulations, honestly, because that's I know in the music scene and creatives as a whole have a hard time um not having some sort of substance no matter what it is. And they think that that's what connects, and I've heard it a lot on my show. You're not the only one that's you know been able to overcome that, and it's a hard thing to overcome. And in fact, today, one of the guys that's been on my show for a while is a friend of the show. He's gone 9 years now. And
Oh, today, eh?
yeah, today, yeah. And
Congrats to him.
yeah, and his name is Coaster. So hi, Coaster. But like he goes around and speaks about that kind of stuff, like motivational speaking. He does that in addition to his music. And it's just um we hear all the time here in America that like that's a problematic thing in the industry of music. And I know, being in so heavily in the local music scene, it really is. And so I'm glad that you mentioned that, because it does show that, hey, you can have your art without something to
Mhm.
back that up, and you can have your art, and that your mind will be clear and it'll come back to you whenever it's meant to. And so, I think it's really important that you mentioned that. That's really awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Kara.
Yeah. And seriously, congratulations. It's hard. It's not easy, I know. I've seen so many people come through it, and it's like them calling me all the time, and it's hard. It's so hard. So, I
Yeah,
appreciate.
it's been a crazy 3 years. I definitely feel like, I was losing my mind at some point, right? Because there's, like, no, like I couldn't blame it on I couldn't blame how I was feeling on, like,
Yeah.
eh, I had nothing to blame it on. So I was like, "What's wrong with me?"
Yeah.
But, apparently this is, I'm just living life on life's terms, you know? And it's great, and it's great, and that's just sort of the natural consequences of life is that, there needs to be some, darkness in it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you can't have light without it. So,
No.
I definitely believe that that's the truth of life is um it's always ever you're always ever learning all the time. Like it doesn't matter. And whether it's just that Montreal is cool and people live and leave, or if whether it's cold 125,000 days of the year, or whatever it is. Like, that was kind of excessive number, but anyway. It's I think it's you're always learning, and if it's about yourself and you're able to grow from it and have a different perspective, and your music becomes better, or your craft I should say becomes better for it, then it's all the better. And it makes it this beautiful, like, blessed moment almost, because you've been able to grow from it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
What more
I
to ask? What more to ask than growth
exactly.
and sharing positive experience and, the, there's a Jason Isbell song that comes to mind. He wrote a song called "It Gets Easier."
Hmm.
Um, I think it's about sobriety. I'm pretty sure,
Yeah,
and it's like it gets easier, but it never gets easy. you know, which
exactly.
that song helped me a lot. So
Yeah, that actually feeds into my next question is, what inspired, who inspires you, one, for music, and what kind of gave you that motivation and that, um, determination to kind of come out of that 3 years ago? Like, was there anything that kind of drove that, or was it just, I'm just gonna stop? You know?
sure. No. So what? First question is who inspires my music, and
Yeah.
then what made me stop?
No, how did you keep going? Like, was there a motivator to continue going 3 years now? You know,
Oh, sure,
long
sure, sure.
term.
Yeah,
Some
yeah, yeah.
people have children, some people have the music, some, what was your motivator?
Yeah, yeah. That's a good question. The motivator was, I guess, like when I stopped. Um, I was going through a breakup, like a pretty bad breakup. And this person, she was sober too, right? So that's kind of what turned the lights on for me. Is
Yeah,
okay, like you can be in your early 30s and sober. I didn't know that was possible.
yeah,
Um, and so like this person like broke up with me, and then I was just alone in my misery, working a job I didn't like, living somewhere that was not the best situation for me, um, and like really looking uh, at my music career like up until that point, and not like being satisfied, not being super satisfied with it,
right.
and starting to blame or starting to think that maybe it was because of me.
Yeah,
Like maybe it's not some maybe no one's out to get me in the
yeah,
end. Right?
yeah,
Like no one like hates me. Maybe it's just all my fault.
yeah.
Um,
Gosh.
and then that was like the initial kind of catalyst.
Mm.
But uh, and then the other thing, like the thing that keeps me going and that kept me going, keeps me going is the idea that uh so I started giving music a real shot at 31. I mean, I was always all in, but like now I'm like all in and I'm not,
Yeah,
taught every day. But the motivator is like if I stay sober till the end of my life, for example, one day at a time, then um, I'm not gonna wonder what my life would have been had I not
yes,
had I not kept drinking or had I not kept using, right?
yeah,
Like I'm
right,
I won't have those regrets later on.
yeah,
So that's a big motivator for me, is to know like even if it doesn't work, like even if my dreams don't work, then at least I'll know that I'll have given it my best shot, with as clear thinking as I can manage, right?
yeah. The clearest head. Yeah, that's amazing. And that's what I think is really important, is that, like, you have to come to that conclusion of how important music is, or how important your career is, or how much of yourself do you want to give to it to be able to get to that far, however far that dream goes. And so having a clear mind and a clear head, I think, is the best way always to go. And um, for you to realize that, so early on, in kind of early on in your career, you're still kind of building it, but to realize that early on is crucial, I think, because then it doesn't mean that the music is based on that. It's based on you and nothing else.
Mm.
And so I think that's cool. Like, it shows a lot. And were you able to, like, have any music come out of that situation, like as a story, or any songs come out of that situation?
Yeah, for sure. I released I released a piano album in 2021.
Yeah.
Just like I was maybe 3 months sober. Like I recorded it almost as soon as I got sober. And these songs were written in the last year, like of my using.
Yeah.
Um, it was kind of like chronicle, like the end of the end of the fantasy or whatever. But it's
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't all like yeah. I guess like it chronicles the end of that like
That journey.
trippy, like really trippy 15 years of my
Yeah.
life. you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
that super trippy period where like I fell asleep at 16 and I woke up at 31, like kind of.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
but then I wrote a bunch of songs after that that ended up being released um this past September
Yeah.
uh, on a Seattle-based label, a new label, Damaged Halo, and so the album "Dreams Made of Snowflakes." All of those songs are from early sobriety. It's my
Okay.
first album that was from A to Z, like with the clearest head, like composition, recording, and performing. All not a sip or a puff was involved.
Yeah. Wow. Jeez. That's awesome. How did that feel?
To release.
No, how did it feel to release something that had no substance behind it like you had done before? Like how did that feel to release something that was of clear mind?
Sure. Well, it felt so the thing. I guess like the thing with sobriety is that uh, for me, like my mind doesn't go on this like like this emotional roller coaster anymore,
Yeah.
right? So uh, when I used to put something out, maybe like I would, like who knew if it was good or not, but I was really excited about it.
Yeah.
Whereas now, like when I put it out, it's kind of like, okay, like I spent this amount of time on it. Um, I guess it was really more like like the listener was way more in my mind, in
Mhm.
terms of like how it was, how, I feel like basically what I'm trying to say is that for the first time, it felt like I hadn't forgotten anything.
Yeah, which is important. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas the other ones, it was like really more, like, I guess, like I like them, but the others like always like, oh, like I should have done this or I should have done that, or
Yeah.
as soon as it was done, like I would release it. But
Yeah.
now, like the album was done for a long time until I found Jose in Damaged Halo, and then like there was more of a my life dreams and my life actions were like together for the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
That's so amazing. Well, I applaud you for being able to do that though. I mean, that's hard, to but also to be like so proud of something coming out of something so difficult is really like I would think very rewarding to yourself. Like I did that with nothing behind it. It was all me, you know.
Yeah. And my friends, right?
And your friends. Yeah. Well, and the band. I mean, I feel like they're kind of it's implied, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I mean that's how I felt, right? It's like really like, oh, like this is this is really this is the trip. Like this is the real trip that I
Yeah,
want.
yeah, yeah. It's important. Yeah. Well, do you want to play something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd love to play a song.
Yeah.
Oh, my guitar was just there. This song is called "Lady on the Internet," and I'm dedicating it to Josephine.
Okay.
Lady on the internet, I like your tattoos. I'm being honest, I just haven't had a chance to tell you. We've only started talking yesterday. But what does time mean in this goddamn day and age? Lady on the internet, I want to ask you, do you feel like me? Completely in love with the whole world that is at your feet, but just a little bit lonely. Lady on the internet, I would like to recall the way we shared our common history of growing up with biker gangs at late night parties and the advantages of raising ourselves. We must be doing something well. We must be doing something well. We must be doing something oh so fucking well. If you and me, we're both still alive.
Yeah. I always like to go away, so it's more focused on you.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I was wondering.
Yeah. That way people aren't, they're like watching or whatever. It's all on you. But uh man, I really like that song. That's a really cool, like, just a a would you call it a ballad?
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'd call it a ballad, an internet themed ballad. Yeah.
Yeah. How did you come up with that song?
Yeah. So the song was written. We had a curfew
Mhm.
in Montreal. We had two curfews for COVID,
Oh,
and one of them was in January from like it started on New Year's Eve and it ended in the middle of February. That sounds crazy, but maybe it's
yeah.
maybe that's what happened, or in March.
Yeah.
It lasted for a long time. 8 p.m. Right, curfew 8 p.m.
Jeez.
To protect the citizens from COVID
Yeah.
19, and so it was a real weird time, and I wasn't going to work. There was no work. Nothing was open, and I was spending all day on the internet,
Yeah.
and I ended up chatting with someone, having a conversation with someone, and we. I guess I wrote her this song,
Yeah.
uh, And
Do you still know her now?
no, all I got from her was the song. Yeah,
Wow. Well,
yeah.
maybe that was all her only purpose, you
I,
know?
I, I think so, but so yeah, this person still speaks with the bassist of my band, Lee. They're
Yeah.
good friends, so she was able to like hear the song, like the recorded version and the
Yeah.
video, and um, yeah. But it was the first. I guess like I like this song because it's the first song I composed um, of the Dreams Made of Snowflakes cycle. You
Oh,
know, it was like the
what's
how
that
can
called?
I the one that unstuck yeah, like the one that like unstuck the pipe, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Because then
That
everything just came out like in like the next 2 months, like everything just came out.
the plug. It released the
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. That
Yeah, yeah.
um that's cool. Like she kind of maybe that was her only purpose was to just help you, get unstuck and like really come back full around of like, writing and stuff. Like that's
Sure.
sometimes that's all the season. Did she give you like a how she felt about it? Like a feedback of how she felt about having a song written about her?
Yeah, I think I think she said she thought it was cool, something like that. She
That's
liked it. Yeah, yeah.
I've written a song about two people, and well, actually, I wrote a song about one person, and then I wrote a whole album about another person, and
Wow.
uh, the whole album didn't really take very well, didn't get anything back. The person that I wrote the one song about, he was like, "Dang, that's so cool," and like was all over it for forever. And so
Nice.
I totally feel like, it's kind of cool to be able to bring that to somebody and say like you inspired this or you inspired me or whatever. So yeah, I mean that's really awesome that she liked it. So I think when you're writing something about somebody, you're like, please let them like it.
Yeah, I mean that's a little that's a little bit of the point, is
Yeah,
wanting to like build that bridge and stuff. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it has been amazing. We're almost at the end. Is there anything you kind of want to plug or, you know, say, or do we miss anything? Like,
yeah, yeah. I guess for those watching, if you don't already know who I am, then and you liked sort of the general vibe that I give off, I can be found on all social media platforms. My main one, I post a lot of memes and like music updates and stuff, is Instagram. So you just type, just follow Booster Fawn on Instagram. Um, and then I guess the most important one is like my actual music. Same, you just look up my name on all the streaming platforms. And I have a bunch of videos if you like videos on YouTube. And I'm actually releasing a video in a few weeks. So there's about 10 videos out already that I made, but I'm releasing a 10-minute long video in a few weeks because the album Dreams Made of Snowflakes came out in September. It's all in English. I am bilingual. My
yeah,
mother tongue is French, so recorded and released 3 songs in French just a few weeks ago in February
yeah,
from the album, like translated versions.
yeah,
And so one of the videos is gonna, like the video for that is gonna come out in a few weeks. So that's my long ramble, but follow me on social media if you have it, and I'll follow you back for sure.
yeah. Can you kind of give us maybe like a chorus or I don't know, a verse or something in French, like just in case people want to hear it?
Sure. Prends soin de tes amitiés, respecte tes amoureuses, et puis jusqu'à la fin, adore ta mère.
Yeah. Man, French is like one of those like languages that always sounds beautiful no matter what.
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
like I just love it so much.
Thank you.
Um, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and coming on and sharing your music. And I really appreciate it. You're the first person in Montreal that we've had. So
Awesome. Well, it's
yeah,
an honor. It's an honor. This was really fun. This was
yeah. I've
super
had
cool.
Nova Scotia. That was the only other one I've had. So
Okay. So
um
it's mostly Seattle, like Seattle
I'm
folk?
all over I'm all over the country. But
Cool.
I've had like Scotland, and then now I've had two people from Canada, and yeah, I gotta think. France.
Wow.
So I'm getting there.
Wicked. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm trying to branch out. But yeah, it's cool. It's all over the nation, and then yeah, international. I'm the only one that does international and all genre, all age, and uh yeah, international. So it's pretty fun.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was a really good chat.
Thank
You're
you.
I feel comfortable with you, so it's good.
Oh, thank you. Well, I hope so. I'm not doing something right if not. Well, everybody, please go follow him and check out his music and out his Instagram, or whatever. Oh my God, what a cute little kitty! What's your kitty's name?
Her name is Chanceuse.
Say that again. Chasso.
Chanceuse. It's a French word. It means lucky.
Lucky. Okay, I love it. My friend has a cat named Lucky. Hey, hey, where's mine? Come here. Come here. Come here. There's a good girl. Come here. Come here. Come on. Oh, okay. Well, my little boy's gonna come instead. This is my boy.
Ooh.
His name's Jensen. He's still a baby, but I have another girl too. Her name's Chloe, and
Oh.
she just doesn't like to be picked up. But Jensen's like, I love all of the loves.
Okay.
But that's awesome. Thank you for sharing your cat. I love cats and dogs.
Me too.
um, all right, everybody. Anyway, go ahead and follow him, please. I'm so excited to have another person from Canada on, and yeah, I'm so very thankful for you for coming on. So, if you have anything else, is there anything else that you want to say?
Uh, no, be kind to each other.
Yes, 100%. I agree. All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you joined us live, and see you on the replay if you're going to see that. And please mention him in any of your stuff. If you listen, go ahead and talk to him. He's pretty friendly, as you can see. So, but anyway, we love y'all. Thank you for joining us. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.